A charity in London is attempting to combat the ongoing cost of living crisis by offering people a free financial meeting.
Debt-Free London offers the public advice on everything from debt to rent. Let's get more from our reporter Rosie Wright, who's down there for us this morning. Morning, Rosie.
A very good morning to both of you. Now, today, the Chancellor made this announcement back in May. There was going to be a payment to help families, households, individuals who are grappling with the rising cost of living. In total, £650 will be available, and in your bank account, half of that, £326 from today for just over 8 million people. This is all needed because I don't need to tell you how prices are going up at the supermarket, at the petrol pump. The price, I know you've just been talking about wanting to stay cool, but to heat and to turn on the electricity at home. The reality is thousands of people that come here to Debt-Free London need urgent financial help. And someone who can give us a bit more detail is Matt Dronfield, who's at the head of Debt-Free London. Matt, we met a couple of months ago talking about the cost of living. You're meeting with people who've got the least disposable income of anybody. Will this payment from the government be even remotely enough to help?
Morning, and thanks for coming down today. Our advisors across London help 24,000 people a year with their finances when they're struggling with debt. Now, every little helps, and yes, it will go some way for a few weeks, but the reality is 2 in 5 of our clients that come through our doors say that low income is the reason of their financial issues. And when supermarkets are having to put security tags on a packet of Lurpak or cheese, we know we've got a real issue. And this might help with the cost of packed lunches for kids for a few weeks at school, but it's not going to change the game massively. And unfortunately, we've already seen an increase in demand for our service of 250% already this year, and we don't see that changing anytime soon.
That is totally stunning, the number of people who require help. How bad a financial situation are people in when they come to you? You said previously, a few years ago, they might have one debt outstanding that they can't pay, but that's changed.
And this is the biggest thing for us as well, right? So just before the pandemic, it was 1.5 debts people came to us on average. It's nearly 4 debts people are coming to. That's 4 different creditors chasing for payment, bailiffs knocking at the door, threats of eviction or losing your housing. It's a real concern. And for our advisors, they're supporting people that sometimes just don't want to be here anymore. So it's not just helping with their finances, but it's also helping with their mental well-being as well.
So the government, the Chancellor, have said they are going to try to help with this cost of living payment. What would you like to see from them that might actually make a difference to the people who come here?
Did you say it's the cost of living, right? Inflation is going up and up. Your supermarket shop has doubled so far this year. Your energy costs have doubled as well. This needs to stop and it needs to be reversed. We need to bring our expenditure back into control.
Matt, thank you very much. You'll see behind me there are these sort of advice pods, and one person working here is Fatma, a debt advisor. Now, you've done this job for the last year or so. Who are the type of people that you're meeting and giving the advice to?
I think when I first started my role, I had a really naive idea of what a low-income person would be, so I always assumed I'd be helping people who were maybe unemployed, and I think when I started my role, most of the people I was seeing were unemployed. But I think something that's quite concerning as well is realising that a lot of people that actually come for help are in full-time employment. So sometimes you get teachers ringing you in their lunch break or after school, or people that are working for the NHS. One of my clients was a civil servant, and you wonder if they're really struggling to get by. What about the people that don't have that, don't even have the safety net of a stable full-time income? So I think it's good to remember as well that none of us are really exempt from this crisis, and people working full-time are being hit really hard as well.
Define really struggling. What does that look like in terms of people's sort of expenditure over the week?
Well, we also distribute food bank vouchers, and I've been finding that a lot of people, even finding the money for groceries is quite a struggle, and sometimes having to resort to food banks to take off that strain that you have to feed your families. And yeah, we've got a lot of people coming in needing support for energy, council tax, rent. So I think in every department that something can rack up, it will rack up, and we have clients that are continually kind of living in minus figures. So yeah.
What are the things that people are struggling to pay for? You said earlier council tax is one of those things.
Yeah, council tax is a really big one. Rent arrears is a big one. And then we've got energy, utility bills are a really huge one. Yeah, it's everything. And then obviously to try and catch up with things, people end up resorting to kind of credit cards, and sometimes Christmas comes up and you're having these like Klarna payments and things like that people are trying to pay in installments, but eventually the money does it needs to be paid and people don't have it.
Fatma, thank you very much. And Matt as well, thank you very much. Just remind me, Matt, what is the email address if someone listening at home thinks, my goodness, I'm in that financial need? Where can they go?
Absolutely. So as much as we're debt-free London, if there's viewers outside of London, we can still help. You can find your nearest advice centre on our website at www.debtfree.london, and that's where all our contact details are as well.
Matt, thank you very much. So today, a one-off payment. It's automatic. If you apply, if you're eligible, you don't have to apply. It will just turn up in your bank account that you normally get your benefits paid into. But as we've heard from here, yes, a little bit helps, but there needs to be something far more dramatic, which means that people in full-time employment aren't coming to places like here to say, I'm really struggling to pay my basics and pay my bills.